Hi there. I am Jasara Hines, and welcome to Pear Fair Fall Edition. I am extremely honored to be here with you today and to walk you through my session. For my session, I would like to help teachers who are remote. Or even maybe in a semi hybrid situation where they have students who are at home but collaborating in real time with students who are on campus. So, my session is all about improving collaboration using Pear Deck. Particularly, I will touch on the use or implementation of some sort of a breakout room, whether it's a Zoom breakout room or a Google for Enterprise breakout room. Unfortunately, I'm not able to really showcase that in its entirety because I am here by myself and I don't have students with me to show you how the breakout rooms work. But I can kind of introduce collaboration strategies and then kind of give tips on how to pull in things from Peer Deck for best practices with breakout rooms. So my screen is a little bit different. It's not in presentation mode, partly because I want you to see me make choices. And I want you to see how I build specific lessons using the Peer Deck add-ons for implementation with and without, because I'm also going to tackle this without as well, without or with breakout room capabilities. So today, these are the four things that you'll kind of see as I walk through this. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to some of probably the most research based slash endorsed collaborative techniques. And just a quick caveat, a lot of these techniques are AVID endorsed. AVID is a college prep program, and in this program that usually are implemented in schools, middle and high schools, even elementary schools actually, throughout the nation, the goal of the program is to prepare students who may not have made it to college to prepare them for college by supporting them and giving them the skills they need. So the collaborative techniques that I highlight or showcase, they are all improved or sorry, all endorsed by Avid. But guess what? You might already know these and be using them. So this would just be a chance for you to think about collaboration using the tools you already have with Peer Deck. So hopefully, that you find the connection there. The second thing, after I introduce the strategies, I'm going to show you what, they would look like without breakout rooms because not every teacher has access to those. I'll also, and this is where like the building comes in. Once we, hit that part, I'm going to start showing you how to create presentations using Peer Deck with those certain collaboration techniques and they'll be built for breakout rooms. And then, of course, I want to wrap up by giving you some additional info, my contact info as well. That way, if you have comments or questions or you just want to talk, you can feel free to do that. So the one thing I wanted to point out is, even though I am in edit mode, as we'll call it, and not presentation mode, I will have a student paste link going out. I think that they're going to attach it to the comments in this presentation. And if you wanted to follow along, so like if you haven't really used Peer Deck before and this is your first time attending one of these, you could kind of see it on the student end, right? So the next few slides kind of deal with showing it when you get to it, showing you how it would look like on the student end. But again, I just want to give everyone like the opportunity to see the different things available with Peer Deck. So my slide number 4, again, was taken from the template library over here. It was taken from a book, like at the beginning of a lesson. And it's just like, what is one thing you hope to learn today? So again, you might be well versed in collaborative techniques in the classroom. You might even be killing it right now online with collaboration in a completely remote or hybrid setting. People may not know the formal names. So I don't know, maybe you want to know formal names of collaboration techniques. Maybe you want to know about how Pear Deck can help facilitate collaboration. So just think about this. Again, as a student, if you are inclined to try out my student-paced activity, you'll be able to see what this would look like on your end as the student responding to this question. Same thing for the next slide. Again, this was another template. It was a critical thinking template, and all I did was change the question that is posed. So I want to ask you guys, and hopefully we can have an ongoing conversation if you decide to reach out to me about collaboration. So is it one of the major components of engagement, true or false? And we know that there are many different schools of thought on this, but for me, I'm going to definitely say true. And this is where we're kind of like, go into this. So we're going into the collaboration strategies right now. So one person, this is Miss Bailey, Jill E. Bailey. She believes that collaboration or cooperative learning activities, they can really help to build a community of learners. Other people who kind of share the same vein would be Henry Silva. I don't know if you guys know of him. Definitely Marzano. And of course, the AVID program. Of course, these are just a few. Like, I think at this point in our history of the pedagogy of teaching, every school believes that collaboration is a key element of engagement. For Henry Silva, it's part of the 8 C's, right? So here are a small list of different types of collaboration strategies. Now, again, some of these you may already know. If you are interested in knowing what each one of these looks like at the end, so I don't want to scroll down there just yet, but at the end, I give you a PDF with all of these and then an application inside of the classroom. So Fishbowl is often used for discussions, for oral discussions, but did you know that it could work well with like labs or with solving mathematical problems, right? So I'll kind of show you about that one in particular. I'm also going to highlight in this. So in this presentation, I'm not highlighting every single one of them, just kind of like the ones that, sometimes maybe in your mind, you can't see that working remotely. So those are the ones that I chose to show you, no, this can work. And Pear Deck could make it work for us. So Fishbowl is one of them. I'm also going to highlight Four Corners, which is really dependent on kinesthetic, on movement. So I'll talk about that, what it looks like in the classroom in case you are not familiar. But then again, I'll talk about it with like breakout rooms, right? How we can make that work with breakout rooms. And then the give one, get one. So this is another one, again, that's really dealing with movement and being able to get up and walk around. And guess what? Even if we are in school, like if we're a school that has gone back to campus, we may not be allowed to have our students get up and walk around. However, if kids have a device, they can do the give one, get one without that movement using Pear Deck. Okay, so again, I'll also touch on numbered heads, but again, and I will scroll in the resources. I've got the strategies with content specific. So the examples that accompany the strategy, they are implemented in a subject area. So you could really, really see what that looks like. I'll talk about the other two things once we're done with the presentation. Okay. So again, if you were a teacher with your students, you might want to use a template like this. So this one kind of gets that curiosity activated, right? And again, another way to have students engaged other than collaboration is inciting their curiosity. So this is another that's something that I pulled out of the template library, and it's just to get them activated. So, like, what do you think about Pear Deck helping with virtual collaboration? So, if you do the student paste, you will have your ability to type in your thoughts or questions or concerns, and I will get to see them. Okay. So, first strategy, Fishbowl. So as an English teacher myself, I have I have tried to use this one, particularly with my higher level students. But usually the fishbowl model, so if you're new to this, the fishbowl model is kind of like a metaphor, right? For when you look at a fish in a bowl. So we have a group of students in the center, and then we have a group of students on the outside. And the students on the outside observe what's happening on the inside. So, like I said, it's usually seen in discussions, but why not in labs? Why not with math, right? So the main goal is that the students on the outside of the fishbowl, while they are watching or observing what's going on the inside, the students on the outside, so the students who are not modeling, who are not actively speaking, they are given a chance at some point, whether it's at the end, whether the teacher or facilitator stops and asks, or gives them a moment. They're given some time to talk about what they saw. So debriefing of the process is extremely important. And then once that debrief has happened, the students who are done with the modeling or whatever, they can now move on to the outside and provide feedback for a new group of students. Or so there are a few ways you can use this. The students on the outside, after the debriefing, can provide feedback for the students who are on the inside. But usually the way I've seen it done is that the students on the outside move in and then they contribute to what was done, or they improve what was done based on the feedback or the debrief. So what does this look like if we are remote and if we are using Pear Deck to help us use this collaboration strategy with our students? So this is where we go into full editing mode now, right? Okay, so notice I'm on slide 10. So what I'm going to go and do is I need to find something to help me facilitate this kind of a model. So if I'm looking down, it's because I have my notes and I don't want to miss a step. So I'm going to go into the template library. Again, I'm going to go to critical thinking. That's like my favorite friend at right now. And I've got all of these different things, but I need to remember that usually in a fishbowl, I want my students inside of the fishbowl to do something. So to model, to speak, to teach, to do something that the students on the outside are going to observe and be able to ask questions and comments and then go on and do themselves, right? Or add to the ongoing conversation. So I'm going to choose step up to the solution. And once that loads, I'm going to explain why. So the reason that I'm doing this is because part of the debriefing process should entail students talking about steps. So if it was a laboratory experiment, or if it was a mathematical equation that your Fishbowl group, that they were working on for the observers, right? In the debrief, the students on the outside should be able to say the steps and should be able to talk about what they saw. So I think that this tool, this graphic organizer, really helps get students in on the outside, so the observers, get them engaged with what is happening inside of the fishbowl. And that then too facilitates the debrief. So I'm going to get that, but then I'm not going to end there. I'm also going to add the I observe. So the other reason why I'm adding this one is because, again, we want our students to remain engaged. So even if I am in the room with them and we did carry out this fishbowl, maybe I want to be able to have some sort of evidence that they understood the process. So maybe their steps, so them recounting the steps for debrief, maybe these were not, as well rounded or explained as possible. But then when we get to the I observe, the students can provide a richer discussion of what they saw, and they could get it down in writing before they set it to the class. So again, if I am in person with my students and if my students all have devices, and of course, I don't know if I would necessarily be doing Pear Deck, this type of Pear Deck with my students if they didn't have devices to respond. I would present, whatever. So we're just going to stick with it. It's a laboratory experiment. And we had one group facilitating the steps to one of the experiments, and we had other kids on the outside watching it, right? So I would give my students, who were the observers, the time to go back through and on slide 11, write their steps to the solution, or you could even change solution to something else, or just, have them know what that means. And then the observe. And then the discussion for the debrief could happen. And then students would have copies of this, right? So they would be able to improve upon what was done and initially done with their commentary. So that's how I would do this. So in a real, class together. Now, if we were remote, obviously I would need to establish maybe a breakout room, right? So I would have my students, we would all be on one meet together where I would be facilitating a group inside of, the one room, talking or showing or, something. And then I would make breakout rooms for the debrief so that when students get into the breakout rooms, they can, on a small scale, work with each other on these things, right? And then once they worked on that and had these completed, we could come back to a whole room setting. And I, as the instructor, I would pull this stuff up and I could go through, and as a whole group, we could have a discussion about what we saw using what was inputted into these two slides. Okay. So the next item on our list is we're going to do the give one, get one. I'm sorry, give one, get one. So in this strategy, like I said, in the classroom, you as the teacher, you would pose a question. When you posed that question, you would allow students some time to create a list. And I would suggest that they made a list where they could easily delineate between what they wrote. So 5 things, let's say. So easily they can see it's 5 different things. Once they had their list, they would literally, you would give them time to get up and walk around the class, and they would speak to someone. And the idea is that they would give that person one thing, or one idea, one answer, or a step. So if it's a mathematical problem, one step of the equation, of solving the equation, and then the student they're discussing would give them another step of the equation, or another idea, or another example. So again, how do we do something like this remotely? And of course, you probably want to set, specific criteria. So if you were in the classroom, it would be something like sit down after you've added 2 or 3 original ideas to your existing list, or whatever. Or if it's an equation, sit down after you've received all the steps to solving the equation, right? It would be, obviously, you would make it, formalize it so that it's less chaotic, right? Um, so, how do we do this remotely, or even in a hybrid setting? So, obviously, you would start with breakout rooms. So, you would pose your question. So, what are the elements? In this case, my scenarios, what is the elements of making choices for a healthy lifestyle? And what you could do is you would give students, you can, again, so we'll go back to our, we'll go back to our, and get a blank page, right? So this is our blank page, and you would add the ability for students to write on this, right? So we could do draw. So our students, because we added that, they could make their list, and they would have their list in front of them. And then if we were in breakout, or had the ability to do breakout rooms, we could shuffle them into breakout rooms, and they would have their list, and they would be, we could have something like, make sure your list is in green and your new ideas are in red, or something like that, right? And then you could then shuffle them again. So even though they went to breakout rooms, so you could have them in a breakout room for, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, and they each talk. I would suggest making the breakout rooms no more than 4. And then you can shuffle. So you can bring them back to the main call, shuffle the groups, put them back again until you've given them enough time that you think that they are able to solve whatever equation, or they have enough ideas that they could start writing about something. But again, we would want our students to have the ability to actually write their ideas down on something that's shareable. So when they went into the breakout rooms, on their screen, they would have this up, and we made it where they could write. So they could easily share their screen inside of whatever the breakout room or Zoom breakout room, whatever room you're using, right? Okay. Next thing. So let's go and let's consider the 4 corners. Again, a very kinesthetically built activity. So in 4 corners, the idea here is that students are given the ability to activate their curiosity, their prior knowledge, their inquisitive nature. So, of course, as the teacher, I choose a prompt. So I'm going to make this something based on what I'm about to teach, right? My students, they do respond, but not verbally. They respond by moving. So you are in a room, and each corner represents some sort of degree of agreement or disagreement. So you could do, this corner to the front left is I fully agree. Front right is I sort of agree. Back left is I sort of disagree. Back right, I completely disagree, right? Something like that. And then your students, you give them the opportunity to move. And then when they go to each corner, the goal is that inside of that corner, they listen and talk to each other about why they made the decision they made. So, why is it that they completely disagree with the statement? So, this is a way for them to even build up further their personal perspective, right? Um, while in their corners, they're talking, they may be taking notes. You might ask them to take notes, that's up to you. After they hear those point of views from each other, so you could either have them stand in their corners and report out, or, so this is another, a variation, you can have one person from every corner rotate around the room. So the completely disagree goes to the completely agree. And the people in that corner explain to the person who has joined them the opposing idea or the opposing thought. And then another variation. So this is like an added step. Usually that's kind of where it ends, and then you talk as a group. But if a student changes his or her mind, so maybe you pull them all back to the center and then you ask the question again and see if anyone goes to a different corner. And if they do, they have to kind of explain why they went to that different corner, right? Okay. So for the four corners, you're probably thinking, how am I going to do this remotely? And especially if maybe you don't have the use of breakout rooms, how is this going to work, right? So let's pretend that this is our prompt. Do you think history repeats itself? So let's say we're about to have an election tomorrow. Maybe you are teaching a lesson because you're a civics teacher. Maybe you're teaching a lesson about, presidential candidates and their stance and the things they believe in and whatnot, right? So do you think history repeats itself? Well, how do we make this an interactive slide? So we're going to go to our template library, and this time we're just going to do a Draggable. So I'm not sure how in depth the initial Pear Deck training is, but with Draggables, you have the ability to do numbers. Oops. There we go. So I'm thinking I need four corners. So if I have four corners, I need four, right? So I need them to go to four things or have an option to choose between four choices. So I'm going to do add a number, change this to 2, add another, change this to 3, add another, change this to 4. So obviously I would need to provide my students with a legend. So I would need to explain to them that 1, and maybe since 1 is red, I'd be like, this completely disagree. 4 would be completely agree. Oh, I'm so sorry. And then, of course, the 2 and the 3, you're in the middle. So 2, you kind of disagree, but you're not like 100%. 3, you're kind of agreeing, but again, you're not 100%. Update slide. Okay, so now if you are the student, you know what the legend is. So you know that if I'm choosing completely agree, I need to drag my dot I need to put a 4, right? If I am a student who completely disagrees, I need to drag the 1. The 1 is me. I need to take that and I need to drag that, right? Okay, so now, so what? So they've dragged a number. So they've dragged a 1, they've dragged a 2, they've dragged a 3, they've dragged a 4. Well, now you make a breakout room. So you go and you add your slide. You can put links in here, right? So you can so if you are a Google user, but you do not have enterprise, this is where you would make your 4 additional meets, and you could simply link them, right? So you would have all this breakout room for all your group 1 members, for all your group 2 members, all your group 3, so on, right? If you had enterprise or Zoom, then you wouldn't need to make that extra step, right? You could just make your 4 rooms and say, okay, everyone who dragged icon, who you chose one, you're one, take that, go into breakout room 1, and then you can follow out this from here. So, right, have a discussion with your people in your corners or your breakout rooms. Then you bring everybody back to the main room. Maybe you debrief. You start the rooms again, but this time you say, if you've changed your mind, let me know. So if you're a Google Enterprise user, you would have to ask your students who is going to go to breakout room 1, because you would have to manually put them in there. But on Zoom, you can just have the 4 breakout rooms and say, choose the room that you want to go to, right? And then you can have your students talk on there. But okay, so they're talking. What if you want to visually see them, their answers about whether they change their mind? So we can do again, so we can just, add a slide, and we could make it a text, right? So we could see them working through this. So they could write down their rationale as to why they changed their mind. Or maybe we want to make this more meaningful because we want to take what they said, and we want to change this or have them represent this in a way that they can then write deeper about. So I think, critical thinking is always the best, right? For this, we could consider different viewpoints. So we could have, as soon as this loads, we could have my original viewpoint and then what someone else said, right? So we could have the 2 viewpoints juxtaposed right here on this awesome graphic organizer that our kids could then use to visualize their thoughts. And you could even change this up, right? Where you could have it like my viewpoint before, my viewpoint after. You could even take it a step further, and you could do something like drawing conclusions here, right? So I'll just add it. So after I've been to the 4 corners, after I've considered these differing viewpoints, what is the conclusion about history repeating itself that I can draw based on the things that my classmates have told me? So obviously, this could be things that you can use. They can do inside of the breakout rooms, and you can have it, maybe have it set to student pace, or even present mode, just turn them on, just when they're in the breakout rooms, indicate that you want them to do this, right? To add their ideas here. And then once you end this lesson and you publish these takeaways, they have a copy of what they have on a nice graphic organizer that they can then condense into a writing assignment or an activity. So that would be awesome. So that's one of like the awesome things about Pear Deck, is that those takeaways allow all these collaboration strategies to stick, because you can give them to the kids. And I think that is just amazing. Okay, and then the last one is numbered heads. So numbered heads takes a lot of maneuvering. I don't know how to explain this one. So with numbered heads, you're placing kids in small groups to begin with. So let's say you have 20 kids in a classroom. You've got 5 kids in each group. So you have 4 groups of 5, right? Inside of the groups, so you know that trick where you all number yourselves. So you say count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you repeat, and all the ones go to a group together. That's not this. This is a variation of that. So you make your groups 5, 4 groups of 5. So inside of the group, every student has a number. So one student is 1 student is 2, one student is 3, one student is 4, one student is 5. You give them something to work on. It could be questions, it could be the same question, it could be different questions, but the goal is they're working together, they're talking about it, they're problem solving, whatever. And then, so either at the end of the lesson or periodically throughout the activity, you call on a different number, and the person in that group who is that number has to stand up and report. So let's think about, so let me give you a verbal example, and then I'll kind of show you what I have planned out in the next few slides. So let's say you are doing vocabulary, and I'm ELA, so all my examples are English based. So maybe you're doing vocabulary and you wanted your students to come up with examples of the literary terms that you're learning. So let's say that the list is metaphor, simile, oxymoron, I don't know, alliteration, right? So that's your list. And in your groups, you make number one, you call oxymoron, and you say, okay, number one from group 3, what is your example of an oxymoron? And they have to give that example. Okay, so that's kind of what numbered head, looks like when you're in the room. So what if you are remote? So here's what we would do. So again, you would create breakout rooms, right? Because you have to give your kids somewhere to go. You assign them. And for my example, it's a mathematical sheet. So you would assign them 1 to 9. So you say, okay, there are 9 people in these, we'll say 3 groups, because, classes probably don't go well past 27 anymore. So let's say we have 3 groups, 1 through 9. So there's 9 people per group. And then you look at what I've done. So I've actually made my chemistry equations, I've made it an image that I've put onto the slide. And so what I would do is I would put them in their breakout groups, the 3 breakout groups. Each person has a number 1 through 9. Let's say every 5-10 minutes, because I would think it would take maybe 5 minutes to solve one of these equations, I would come back. So give every group 5 minutes, look these over, 10 minutes, I guess, look these over, solve as many as you can, come back, and I would say, okay, group number 3, can the person who had number 4 solve the equation? But I can't be like, they can't show me anything. It would have to be oral. So as the teacher, I would make sure that I went and I made this slide draw, right? I would add that draw feature here so that while we're together and even on their own in the breakout rooms, they can put the solution. So when we come over here, they can easily have it displayed. So they would just need to explain what they did. And this way, so let me go back to the description of numbered heads. The reason for this strategy is that students are not anticipating being called on. So they are, but they're not at the same time. So for instance, if they all knew that their group had to answer number 1, right, then they would only do number 1. But if they don't know the order that you're calling these in, then they know they have to collaborate, and they know they have to work hard on being able to explain these answers and talk about how they got it, or maybe they didn't. So maybe they couldn't solve number 9. So maybe you called group 2 and you asked that person who was number 9, whoever it may be, you say, hey, the person whose number was 9, can you please solve the 9th puzzle for me, or the 9th equation? And maybe they can't. Well, that's a great learning opportunity, right? And here's another thing with these numbered heads is you could really mix it up. So you could say, okay, group 4, I would like the person with number 6 to answer, but then go out of order. So then you could say, group 10, can you please answer number 1? So they're not anticipating the number, what comes next, because you're not going in order. So they don't know. And even still, what you could do is you could just not even tell them why they're getting a number. So you could keep it. I mean, obviously they might pick up after a while, but you could keep it completely a secret and just say, okay, hey, in this group, you're number 1, you're number 2, you're number 3, and don't tell them why they're number 1, 2, or 3. So maybe the first time that element of surprise would really, really be awesome. Okay, so again, notice that with all of these examples that I gave you, I kind of suggested which of the Pear Deck tools would work best inside of breakout rooms and to help students remain engaged with what is going on, for you to also monitor. Because remember, as the teacher, at any point in time throughout your presentation, you can show answers and you can see how well your students are answering. You can see where they're struggling. You could gauge understanding. So you can always, breakout rooms or not, you can always pull everyone back and refocus and have them revise what they've written. So again, my slides and which add-ons or which things out of the library I added are literally just suggestions. If you find things that you like better, of course you can use them. And of course, the ones that I showcased, I want to make sure I reiterate this. The ones I specifically showcased are ones that predominantly work inside of a classroom, and they might be things that you wonder, how would that work virtually? How would that work in a breakout room? So that's why I chose them. But let me get to the final slides because we're about to wrap this up here. So remember, and I would be remiss if I did not go back to our plan of attack. So I introduced you to some. I'm going to show you the rest. I talked about how we would do them in the classroom. So, right. I talked about some of them. I gave specific examples about how to do it without a breakout room, making extra Google Meets and whatnot. I talked about how we would add different things out of the library to our existing deck to help or facilitate collaboration and engagement with breakout rooms. And now I'm going to do the wrap up, okay? So again, here is all of my contact information. I honestly enjoy conversation and discourse around pedagogy and around just meeting the needs of our students. And I think one of the things that has truly drawn me to Pear Deck is, particularly with my population of students, I need an engagement tool. And therefore, I use Pear Deck almost every day. And if you use Pear Deck often, or if you are new to Pear Deck and you just want to have someone to have a conversation with, please feel free to reach out to me. My Twitter handle is there, my school email, which I check every day. I shouldn't, but I do. That is on there. An awesome tool, Wakelet, which I've given you a link to it. It's a curation tool that I use to kind of, anytime I come across something useful for remote learning, because I am in a remote environment with my students, I put it on there. But if you follow me on Wakelet and any resources, like for instance, if you're interested in choice boards, I have a Wakelet choice board. I would be willing to share that with you. Flipgrid, if you are interested in collaborating on Flipgrid, here is my information that we could do a Grid Pals or something. But these are just all the ways that I'm willing to connect with each and every one of you if you are so inclined. And then, of course, any lesson, we should end with a closing. So if you were doing this student paced, just know that, again, I am interested how you thought this was. I know it may not have been as detailed as you thought, but it's just really hard to do some of this stuff without students, right? But again, you could at least experience it from a student's point of view if you did the student pace. So anyways, so of course, another quick thing from the template gallery. This I took from the end of a lesson as an exit ticket. Again, another awesome way to engage with students, but also to get feedback from your students about what's going on. And then, of course, the resources. So I'm going to just open these for you just so you can see what they look like. Again, I promised that I would provide details for all of the collaboration strategies that I use, that Avid endorses, and that, they're just good pedagogical practices, right? So these are descriptions that are specifically detailed for content areas, so you can see or get like a feel for it. Of course, they don't need to be, right? Like Jigsaw, I use Jigsaw all the time. And the example here is math, but I teach English. So just know that you have access to this. Again, feel free if you need any help with that to reach out. I did want to give you this link. So maybe you're really struggling with collaboration, especially because you are remote. This is a great 5-minute read about the key steps for collaboration. So of course, if we are digital, you want to think about these things. You particularly want to focus on debriefing with your students and just getting that conversation going so that you can change or alter your perspective and your way of doing things that best suits them, right? And of course, there's other things that you could look at on this page again. So I just wanted to make sure you had this. Again, if you're interested in learning more about Avid itself or anything to do, and I do not work for Avid. I probably should have said that. I don't work for Avid. I just really, their program is very powerful in the way that it changes students' lives and helps students. So I am a proponent of Avid. And then again, here is a Wakelet. So if you're wondering, what is a Wakelet? What does she keep talking about? Well, this is a Wakelet. So I created, again, remember I said Wakelet curates. So I've created a curation of different things for remote learning for all of my fellow teachers who are at home or who might be going back home because of all of the rises in the numbers. So just different resources, like how do you use Twitter in the classroom? This is amazing. If you don't know what this is, please check this out. But yeah, just different things. You once, because you have this link, you too can collaborate. You can copy this and collaborate with me on it, or just have a copy for your own and you don't have to interact with me at all. But I just wanted you to see that I wanted you all to have as many resources as possible. Because this is a very trying time for students and teachers alike. And the more we can share our resources and our best practices and our ideas, the better that it would be for everyone. And of course, I just want to say thank you for coming to this or watching this. I'm sorry. I really hope that you were able to walk away with something from this. I guess it was kind of a demonstration because I did show you, things to add. And again, if there are any questions, I'm going to leave this and end with this. Please feel free to reach out. I am a very communicative person. I respond to emails. I respond to Twitter messages. So please, please, please reach out if you need anything. And again, thank you. And I hope you enjoy the other sessions that are in this awesome Pear Fair Fall 2020 edition. Thanks, and be safe. Have a great rest of the 2020 year. Be safe at Thanksgiving. Have an awesome Christmas. I think we all need some joy in our lives. Have an awesome Christmas or whatever holiday that you celebrate, and just spread joy. Thanks for coming. Bye.